there are various leaders, there are various professionals, there are various inspiring people around us who we know, we watch them, we see them, we follow them. You know why? Because we see that they are very clear who they are, where they have to go, and how they are going. They could be your parents, they could be a professor in your college, they could be a boss in your organization. It could also be a past boss that you had, and you just look up to them because they are very clear and they know that they are successful and they are going in the right direction, and that's what inspires you to follow them. That's what it inspires you to look up to them when you are facing any challenges. Well friends, my name is Arun.thukral. I'm a life and a leadership coach, and in today's video we are going to study about these successful people who are a part of our life, whether in the form of a boss, whether in the form of a professor, whether in the form of a celebrity, sports person, or a politician whom we look up to because they are highly successful. And what is making them successful are their behaviors. Their behaviors that are attracting us because in difficult situations they know how to keep themselves composed, focus, and in situations where they are jubilant, they are happy, how they are keeping themselves up. Why it is very important to understand their behaviors? Because they also carry a big comma in their life, and that is what I say, the challenges of behaviors. What has made them successful may not make them more successful if they do not know what to work upon. And that's their problem. I really got admired and got really fascinated after reading the book What Got You Here Won't Take You There by none other than Marshall Goldsmith. He's a master of understanding the human behavior. He has picked up those points, those very crucial points that every successful leader, manager, or a professional should know, that what are those behaviors that they really need to work on, which unknowingly they are using it on a day-to-day basis, which is leading to chaos, which is leading to their failures and also stopping their growth ahead. And why we are talking about behaviors today? Because as you progress in your life, as you progress in your careers, it is not your functional skills that will be seen, that how expert you are, whether you are a salesperson, whether you are in financial role, whether you are in marketing or supply chain, customer service. No, that you are master at. And that's what he says, that as you go up in the career ladder, you are seen more with respect to your behavioral skills. And now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the most famous 20 behaviors that is actually stopping the growth of these leaders who know exactly where they are going, and how they are going. And with this video, I'm going to give you a lot of insights about those 20 behaviors that Marshall Goldsmith had identified, and we are going to study each one of them very closely and find out that are we really reflecting some of those behaviors in our day-to-day life, and if yes, we may have to pick even if it is 1, 2 to begin with and start working on it. I really got admired, so I thought why not I should make a video out of it. So stay tuned and I'm going to take you one by one. So I welcome you all for this special session that I'm going to have on Marshall Goldsmith 20 unrecognizable habits that we follow in our work on a day-to-day basis. Even before we enter into these behaviors that we are going to talk about, one very important thing that Marshall Goldsmith has said very categorically, that in organizations we are paid and we are rewarded for what we do. Suppose we bring business, we achieve performance, we put certain things that are improvement of process or systems, but we are not paid stopping certain things, stopping some bad habits or some bad practices which has led to a betterment of a result. And that's the point that he's trying to make, that this is one area where if the organization starts to recognize and reward people when they stop certain behaviors which are coming in their way of their progress, then you will see that people will pay more attention to this particular aspect of stopping a behavior than just doing. Because everywhere in the organization, the only talk about is what we are going to do about it, how we are going to become a better professional, how we are going to achieve our goals, how we are going to make a better strategy. But nobody talks about that how to stop certain habits. So for example, if listening, a lot of people say that you should listen. That means you should do certain things. But nobody says that when somebody is speaking, they should stop playing on their phone, on their smartphone, and put those phones aside and pay full attention to it. That means you have to stop certain habits to achieve certain right habits. And that is where the ignorance happens. We don't look at what people are stopping. So let's get into some of those very relevant and important habits that we form during our growth phase when we are really looking forward to, and see how we can work on those habits once we pick one or two of them. So the number one habit, that is, I say, winning too much. By virtue of our childhood upbringing, we are always pampered that, we have to win, we have to come first. My daughter is going to be achieving the first award, and everything is done. And this is pampered right from the beginning at the childhood. There is nothing wrong in it, but once it is reminded and pampered in your school that you have to come first, then in your college you have to compete and come first, then you go into the job, and then again you are reminded that you have to be in the top 10% of the employees, you have to achieve those awards. Unknowingly, over a period of time, you develop the habit of winning, which is good. There is nothing wrong in it. But when you overdo it in everything, that's where the problem starts. So for example, you start arguing with people. When you start arguing with people, you are only trying to prove that how you can win the argument. So it's said that you may win the argument, but you may lose the customer, or you may lose the person on the opposite side. Or it could be that because you are highly successful and you have a habit of winning too much, there are also chances that you will build arrogance. And when you build arrogance, you stop listening. When you stop listening, you start failing. You start failing because you stop changing. This is such a simple thing that happens in our day-to-day life, but we don't pay attention to it. So the habit of winning too much has to be curtailed down. You don't have to win every time. And even if you lose, you need to be with grace. You have to understand that where you are right now. So that is habit number one. Let's move into the second habit, adding too much of value. As you become successful and as you are a leader, your role is to speak a lot. You have to motivate people, you have to charge them up, you have to guide them, you have to mentor them. So the role of a leader becomes that he or she has to speak a lot, interact, because people say as a leader you have to be a good communicator. But there is a flip side of it. And that flip side is that every time you want to add more value to people. And when you try to add more value to people by way of giving suggestions, by way of giving new ideas, you may be improving upon something in them, but you are actually disregarding their thinking process and their ideas, and you are saying no to them. And what you are indirectly telling, listen to me what I am saying. Now imagine if suppose some of your teammate has come to you and talking about a new idea. You say that's a great idea, but if you can make certain changes like this, the moment you say like this, what will happen? You have given only 5% of an addition, but the person on the other side knows that now it is no more his idea, it is his boss idea that he has to now work upon. So you just hijack the thing just by adding too much of value. So that is also, you need to look at it, that how much value that you have to provide and encourage your people to come up with more ideas. Let's move into the third point, that is called passing the judgment, which means the need to rate others and impose our standards on them. Imagine that you are taking a meeting of your reportees and you are discussing about a particular problem. Let's say you are not able to impress upon customers and get their insights. And then you ask for suggestions. The first person on your team raises the hand and you say, wow, that's a good point. The second person raises the hand and you say, yeah, that's a good point. When the third person raises the hand and says something, you don't give any comment. Now what you are doing, you are actually passing the judgment and you have said something in the room without even uttering a word. What is unsaid is that you rank people based on your preference, your favoritism. And that's where you are passing the judgment that the number one guy is your best guy. And the feeling the third guy is going to take is that I'm not close to my boss. The boss doesn't value my opinion. And that is where you have unknowingly passed a judgment by your own choices, by imposing what you think right as per you. This is one thing that one can work on by simply saying thank you when somebody is adding the point. So this is another behavioral habit that unknowingly kills the motivation of people. Number 4 is making destructive comments. Now, the needless sarcasm and cutting remarks that we think make us sound sharp and witty. You see, when people reach the leadership position and they are highly successful, they think that they know everything. And if somebody is making a point or giving a suggestion, and if it is not up to their standard, they either just ignore it or they give a sarcastic comment that they could have done it better. And how they have not learned it over the years working along with me. Now what you're doing is, this destructive comment is only going to give pain to people, nothing else. And when you ask such people that, do you give any destructive comment in the last 24 hours? And they say, no, I have not done anything, because they can't. But if you ask the people around them that, has this person given any destructive comment in the last 24 hours of your conversation? And they will tell you hundreds of things. So be very cautious about when you speak to your people. Are you talking with arrogance? And are you only negating their ideas and passing on the destructive comments? Because people can forget anything and everything, but they will never forget a destructive comment. There's also a point which Marshall Goldsmith has added, that it may be that only 15% of the people make super destructive comments, whereas 85% of the people felt that even if they have given those comments, they are still okay because the other people have not felt bad. He's right. But are you falling in that 15% category? This is what you have to introspect and find that out. The next, one of my favorite, is starting with no, but, or however. When you start anything and you add anything in between these 3 words, you are actually killing the whole idea. You are actually telling other person that I am right and you are wrong. So for example, if I'm saying that, okay, you have a fantastic idea, I think this was going to make a big change in our business processes. However, I feel if you can add 2 more points. Immediately I said, however, it clearly shows that, I am right and you are wrong. Or a habit a lot of people have is by starting no, no, no. They will not say yes, yes, yes. They will always say no, no, no. So this is a habit people have formed. So the best way to respond is, and what? So if suppose somebody is saying that, so suppose you are responding to somebody by saying that, okay, you have a fantastic idea. You have really done well. And what? And what else you have? Rather than saying, but I have to. So for example, if you are under an appraisal and your boss says that you're doing extremely well, you have performed very well, you have shown certain behaviors where you have exceedingly done well in team building activities and in shaping the performance. But I have a feedback. So, the moment they say but, the first part is forgotten. because now he's going to tell you what is his intent of telling everything. So you have to reframe everything every time when you have a habit of doing this. I hope you would have really enjoyed the first 5 habits that I've shared, and if you have really found it useful, relevant, just type yes in the comment section below. That will acknowledge that you have really understood and you are really making a meaning out of it. Now let's come to the second part of the rest of the 5, which are very, very crucial behaviors that we exhibit and that leads to our failures or negativity towards our teammates. And that number 6 habit is that telling the world how smart you are, which means the need to show people that we are smarter than they think we are. This is another way of telling people that you are having the habit of winning too much. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a conversation when somebody is telling some point, or he or she is giving some details about their experience or about a process or about something that is in form of teaching or learning about a skill, and they are talking to you and you're just quickly nodding your head yes and scratching your head in between. What you are actually telling them that I knew it, I know that. And generally this is one of the comment that when somebody is making, you keep saying in between, yeah, I know that, I know that, I know that. That is one of the most irritating habit that people develop over a period of time. And that's what you are actually trying to say, that how smart you are. Which means in your head you're telling, I agree with you and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time I also know all this information, so why are you boring me by repeating the same thing again and again? Or at the same time you also want to say that I know better than you, so you want to score over that person with respect to your knowledge and authority, and you want to add more point. That is why a lot of people get into the habit of jumping and stopping and saying, okay, I'll tell you more, you have seen this, but I'll tell you more. In other words, when you are trying to share something like this by stopping, interrupting, one is you are insulting the other person because you don't have any respect for them, and two is telling them how smart you are is the killer of a relationship. Because even if that person is telling something that you already knew, you are reflecting that you are out of patience, and you are just reflecting that how superior you are. That means the habit of winning is dominating here again, just because you want to show them your smartness. So just observe in your day-to-day work, where do you do this? The seventh habit is speaking when angry. Now, anger is a very often used management tool by people, and it is important also in some aspect when you have to shake up a lazy employee or you want to increase the metabolism amongst your teammates. But the question is that when you are shouting and you don't care, and you are using anger and you don't care about that who else is listening, because you have intentions on shouting or being in anger on a particular set of people, what you are doing and what you are achieving is what in the end you are going to get. What is the cost of doing and showing that anger? So anger as a management tool, a lot of people use because that shows their power, that shows their authority. But how will you lead a team when you are full of anger, when you are full of anxiety? And very high chances when you are full of anger, you would not be speaking with the right frame of mind. And invariably, you are setting up a profile of yours in the eyes of your teammates and your employees that you are a person who is short-tempered. You are a person who loses mind at the smallest of things that happen if anything goes wrong. So obviously, what will it lead to? It will lead to that people will not come up to you. They will not stay around you. Because if you are making a point and somebody is saying no, they will always have a fear that a disagreement in the meeting can lead to consequences and the person can become angry. So that's why it said that use emotional volatility as a management tool, but only very rarely. There are also places and there are also leaders who can get the things out of the people even without showing their anger. So learn that habit. Eighth habit, which is negativity, or let me explain why that won't work, which means the need to share our negative thoughts even when we were not asked. Imagine if these people are everywhere, you go with them with the most best, or you go to them with the best of the advice or best of the solution, and they say, let me explain why it won't work. They will always have a negative attitude and a behavior towards anything. Even if you go and tell them, okay, we have got a cure for cancer, and he will say that, or she will say that, let me tell you why it won't work. So these people are always full of negativity. It doesn't mean that they are adding value, like the previous habit I said, too much of value. It's pure negativity. So every time you go to them with the best of the solution, and they will come, okay, let me tell you what are the problems around this. Let me tell you why it won't work. Now, these habits are by virtue of because you feel you are superior. You know everything. And that's where the day you start that, people don't come to you, because you want to add not value, but your superiority over others. Now let's look at the next habit, and that is withholding information. The refusal to share information with others to maintain an advantage over them. A lot of leaders and successful people, they want to withhold information because they know that information is a tool that can give you an edge over others. And that's more important, particularly in areas when we are dealing with knowledge workers. So a lot of people at the management roles, they want to withhold information because they want to show that they have the power, they have the authority, and they do not want to include you on time or at the right time. They will withhold that information because they feel insecure if that information is revealed, and if it is shared early or too much of information is given, then probably the other person may score better or take an advantage point. So think about situations where you have been a victim of that the information has not been shared with you. For example, you are not marked CC in the email, or you came to know very late about a particular meeting, or you were not sent the invite for a particular Zoom meeting, or you were told very late. Now these are the signs that the leader on the other side is trying to withhold information to show that he or she is powerful, and the way they conduct themselves will really diffuse people. They will not be able to work together, and this leads a very bad taste. So this is another habit or a behavior that people do not want to reveal information, they want to withhold the information. Now we move into the 10th habit, and that is failing to give proper recognition. That is the ability to praise and reward. I have seen a lot of leaders, I don't know why they delay the reward system. I don't know why once people work hard, they achieve goals, they delay their success by recognizing their success. And they do so just because they feel that maybe over rewarding or over recognizing can make the person arrogant or over, but that is where when people get late, the whole sweetness of the success goes into water. So learn to recognize the effort of people and showcasing your leadership by recognizing the efforts that they have done. But people, when they fail to give proper recognition, they actually demotivate their employees because you are not giving them their due recognition what they deserve. And on the top of it, some people, they just double the workload just because you have accomplished something. That means they think that they have given an easier task, and now let me complicate the task without recognizing or rewarding them in the first place. And that really puts off people. Well, these are the top first 10 habits that Marshall Goldsmith had written in his book, What Got You Here, What Won't Take You There. I'm sure you would have got some learnings, some internal references that you can find out in your day-to-day work, and you will understand more in detail once you go through that book. But I have just tried to capture it here in this video. I will be covering the second part of the second 10 habits in my next episode. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching me.